Our purpose is to provide an engagement program in which clients are nurtured through different activities and to provide much needed respite for caregivers. With that said, I want to point out nurtured, because just providing engagement is like setting an activity in front of them and not actually participating. But when they participate, like in decorating cookies that Julie bakes, and that smile or that little twinkle, no matter what the cookie looks like, you know you have nurtured them through that activity, and it gives you a good sense of feeling that you're connecting with them. We do have 2 locations in Gonzales and Baton Rouge. Our next slide, please. Our changes to our program since COVID, we have eliminated clients coming in for safety reasons. Some used to come 1, some 2, some 3 days attendance. But in lieu of them coming in, we're doing drive-through packet pickup every Wednesday. I feel like this keeps our clients connected with Charlie's Place by coming through the drive-through, because it contains activities to stimulate the client's cognition, as well as providing entertainment. There's always a little lagniappe in there, and nurturing them through the crafts. We also have weekly Zoom programs. We've practiced social distancing home visits, both Dedrick and I. And this allows for the reconnection to Charlie's Place, because when they come through, my clients say, oh, now I recognize this place. I remember coming here. So it makes me feel good that we can at least see them once a week. Next slide, please. All right, here at Charlie's Place, we try to appeal to the 5 senses, and those things can all be accomplished at home. Sight, bird watching, they love to sit outside in our courtyard. Cloud gazing, you'd be surprised on a day when there's actual cloud definitions, how they look up in the sky with me and we try to make out different shapes as we did when we were children. But they really do enjoy that. They enjoy the outdoor walks here. So I know if you have place at home, they would enjoy that as well. Also pictures, collages of babies and small animals. They just love the pictures of babies and small animals. Sound, listening to all forms of music. I appreciate them all putting up with my voice. Through our sing-alongs, we've had really good times here. So try that at home. Even though you don't think you have a good voice, they still love the sing-alongs. So the smell, aromatherapy works great. You can put the different scents on cotton balls, put them in Ziploc bags, take them out once a week. It only enhances the smell, and they really do enjoy that. They enjoy the identification of the smell sometimes too. Walking in the garden and smelling the herbs. We have rosemary here, and they just love to smell our herbs. Touching, massages, nail care, handling of the little fidget blankets and aprons. Some of them still love to fit with buttons and unbuttoning and buttoning things. So that's something that's really helpful. Also making cookies and baking bread. I can almost smell it when I even mention the word making bread, because when we make bread here, they all get excited, and it just is a reminiscent episode for us. All right, how to acquire successful results. The more you know about a client's background or your loved one's background, the more successful you can have for your program. And it has to be done with patience and compassion and kindness. Like when you're giving a hand massage, play some soft background music and smile and greet them with gentleness, and using a lotion that appeals to the sense of smell. They really react when you use the senses to appeal to them. Next slide. A well-planned program may not work every day. Routine is the key. We all know from working with folks with dementia that their moods change, not just once a day, but they can change many times a day. Sometimes you're in the middle of an activity and there's a little disruption or something. always redirect. It works every time. Use general reminders when redirecting, body language if necessary, a little nod or a smile to let them know you're listening or you understand. You know, their brains are dying and they don't always know exactly what we're asking of them. They're trying very hard. So if they seem apprehensive or agitated, just remember they're not doing this on purpose. They just can't quite get it together. You may have to repeat something more than once, or a phrase. You might have to phrase it differently. As an example, are you hungry? Or do you want something to eat? Something like that, so that they can understand what you're asking of them. Next slide, please. Support for caregivers. Our respite programs provides sitters. And we are so glad that we have this program because we know our caregivers are really going through a burnout. But, you know, you've got to take time for yourself. You've got to take care of you or you just can't take care of them. We have the monthly Zoom support groups. We even have evening support groups now, which I think is just awesome because with everybody working, sometimes it's just hard to work it in. So us having that evening support group, I think is just something awesome. And Ellen has done a fantastic job with our lunch and learns. It's there's just so many different topics that we can touch our loved ones, our caregivers with the information. Also, I want to suggest something at this point. Alzheimer's Services has awesome resource center. They have all kinds of books and CDs, and so don't neglect to call them or ask them. And you can either go by or possibly they can send it to you. Also want to recommend the Dementia Care Guide, Giver's Guide by Tipa Snow. It will really help you on your journey. It'll help you to prepare for the upcoming changes that you will be faced with on your journey. So the different levels that she discusses are compared to different jewels. And it's really well written. It's so very comforting. Our website to assist caregivers, I will have it posted here at the end. I do want to say that they have the Alzheimer's Foundation of America has a room called the Teal Room, where they have daily virtual programs, and they're only 15 to 20 minutes, short sessions, interaction, and they provide exercise and things like that. So it's a well-rounded program. They have art and all different type of things. So I think you're going to find something there for everybody. Okay, our next slide. These are some of the activities that our loved ones, our caregivers, and our clients have came through and picked up. The apple pie, the very first one on the end, was a huge hit. I actually cut the pieces out of felt and packed it up just like an apple pie and sent it home. And some of my family members sent pictures of them because I had taken the apple pie slices and I had coated them with cinnamon oil. And so it smelled just like an apple pie, and they really loved it. The middle one was for Halloween, and they just got the biggest kick out of the little spiders and the little suckers and things like that. The third one is a lighthouse, and we did that so we could light the way. Our next slide was a huge hit. It was doo-wop days with, I had an actual old-fashioned record player playing their favorite tunes, and they drove through and they had hot dogs and chips, and they had their little shakes, and I was their car hop, and they just had so much fun. They thought that was so much fun. So we really do try here at Charlie's Place to bring it home with them and to them. Our last slide is Wednesday's pickup day. This was our Christmas slide where they came and they picked up the stockings I had made with the help of Miss Marcia. And also there's a slide down there where we had a snowball day, and we've have all kind of different days, root beer float day and all those type of things. And they do, when they come through, they really do tell me they enjoy it, and the family members do too. The last picture is of a couple of our clients here, and they are decorating cookies, and they were so excited. We really do thank Julie for baking all those cookies and sending it for them to decorate. They really had a wonderful time. It certainly was a big plus for our program here at Charlie's Place. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all attending.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I am proud to introduce to you my dad, Bill. Dad was a World War II veteran, decorated 8 Bronze Stars. He was an accountant for Westinghouse Electric, and he developed Alzheimer's. And Dad's Alzheimer's included anxiety, anger, agitation, and mood swings. And so before I go into some of the activities that I did with Dad, I'm going to give you a few tips that I learned going through Dad's journey. Oh, and by the way, the other people in that picture, those are his partners. Me, my husband, Paul, my stepmother, May, and there's Dad right there in the middle. My mother died quite early, and I can tell you our stepmother, May, was a gem. And now on to the tips. I learned that Dad's abilities and likes changed. And I really think the likes for Dad were more comfort of things. So many things were not comfortable for him anymore. Everything slowed. His reaction times, his ability to process information. He was an avid golfer. That didn't mean anything to him anymore. And May started to notice that tax returns were coming back. So in some ways, we thought the Alzheimer's came on rather quickly. And in other ways, we went, oh yeah, we saw that. Dad became very, very sensitive to especially touch and sound. He was very aggravated by touch. Music did nothing for him. It aggravated him. Too many people around, moving quickly. It really, really agitated him. So we had to be really, really careful. And I found that repeating comforting activities for him during the day was okay. In fact, I highly recommend it. And something that we had to understand, we weren't looking to achieve anything anymore than comfort, enjoyment, safety, and security for Dad, and peace for us. And you know, what we call repetitive activities might be new to our loved one every day and very, very comforting. You can have a lot of activities available, but try to schedule a few, maybe at the same time every day. And you want a good mix of some activities, but you also want a lot of breaks and a lot of rest for your loved one and for you. Now, take it from me. If you have an activity that you're presenting and you hear no with a scowl and your loved one gets up to leave, put it away. It's not worth the fight and you're not going to win. Just save it for another day. And we found that there was no need to correct Dad with any activity that he was doing at that time because we weren't teaching Dad. Again, we were looking for those 4 things: comfort, security, safety, and enjoyment. Organized. It's a good idea to have any activities that you have organized. We had baggies. I don't know if anybody can see, but Dad was an avid Lions Club member. He went all over the country to conferences and the like. He had all these pins. They were in baggies on a shelf. We also had containers, little plastic containers, and had it someplace very accessible. Dad would go there sometimes to get an activity, and we would go there sometimes if we needed something at a moment's notice. So just have your activities strategically placed on a shelf or something like that. Now, what makes your loved one comfortable when you are trying to get them to do an activity? Folks, this takes experiment. I can promise you, if I said to Dad, do you want to? I got an immediate no. And then you know what I figured out? I had put him on the spot with a question. He knew he was supposed to answer, but he couldn't process it. And he just didn't have the words to give me the answer. So you know what I did? I came in the back door. I came to him with the activities sometimes. And often I acted like I just didn't have a clue what was going on with this thing. And I really needed some help. That worked quite often with him. And sometimes I used some of his old Army phrases that were less threatening to him than this language that he just couldn't process anymore. Just experiment, folks. But some of the things I did have to watch. My tone. For a long time, I thought if I was louder and spoke more distinctly, he'd get it. Well, that only served to agitate him. Watch your facial expressions. Dad became very visually adept, so we really had to watch our facial expressions. And we used familiar phrases that were less threatening to him. When it was time for bed, we used the old Army, time to hit the sack. And if we were going out somewhere, he had a phrase that he used when we were kids, when we were getting ready to go. And it was, anybody in there for here, this is it. So if we were getting ready to go somewhere, we'd say, anybody in there for there, anybody in there for here, this is it. Much more comfortable for him. And folks, don't hesitate to use gestures and pictures. They do come in handy. Being that Dad was so sensitive to touch, we could not guide him in any direction. So we had to use our gestures, pictures of real things. If you still want to give your loved ones some choices, maybe at breakfast, have a picture of bacon, oatmeal. I wonder if we should have bacon or oatmeal. And that again takes some of that communication stress away from them. They may just look at what they want. And I heard a lady say, by the way, whatever you want them to have, put that down second. Yeah. And they will probably go to that second one. So, and by all means, use gestures, eat, drink, sleep. You don't have to know formal sign language. Whatever works between you and your loved one that makes communication easier, use it. All right, on to some activities that Dad loved. The newspaper and coffee in the morning. Stirred that coffee until I swear he could have worn the bottom away, but he loved it. It was comforting. And the newspaper, was he reading it? Did we ask him a whole lot of questions? No, because he was enjoying it. He loved to sort things, especially mail and the coins. Maybe the coins were back to the accounting, I don't know. But the mail tickled him, and we could reuse these activities. Sometimes with the coins, we'd stack them. Sometimes he would sort them out. So we had all kinds of things we could do with that. The mail, he loved to look at the logos, the stores, and the accountant came back in him. He'd go, well, look at that, 2 for 1. 60% off. Good deal. We also had a jigsaw puzzle out all the time. We let him have the lead with the jigsaw puzzle. He would walk over to the table where it was, just kind of move the things around a little bit. Again, comforting. Maps, he loved maps. Got him a map of Sharon, Pennsylvania, where he was born and raised. We talked about the West Hill. We talked about Sacred Heart Church in school. And I learned that he and his brothers used to start at the top of State Street on their sleds, slide down State Street, and go under the parked boxcars on the train track down in the valley. My poor grandma. Lions Club. We got a map of the USA. We would pull out that baggie of the Lions Club pins. I didn't ask him questions, but we would go through those pins. He could feel them. And then I would say something like, boy, you know, this looks like maybe from south. And he would often finish with the next word, Carolina. So he really enjoyed his maps. Folks, happy hour and Coke floats, always. The Coke floats were after his nap every day. We had a glass that was like the ones from the old soda fountains. And he would say every now and then, good as Deneen's Dairy. Well, Deneen's Dairy was in our hometown of Sharon, Pennsylvania. And that's where we always went for our Coke floats. Happy hour, right before dinner. And we would say it, it's happy hour. And I don't know, May always had some concoction ready for happy hour. And I think what gave Dad comfort, and I don't know if anybody can see it, but we used this same glass every day. It was a glass that my mother had used. And of course, my mother died young. And he got so much comfort from that happy hour, sat in his lazy boy with his drink. And at the end of his drink, he would take that glass and the little remnants he would pour in a plant that we strategically put right beside his chair. He had done that for 40 years, even before the Alzheimer's. He swore it made the plant grow better. Jingles, he loved jingles. If he was agitated, all we had to do was put on an Abbott and Costello who's on first, what's on second video. He really enjoyed that. The rosary, very comforting to him to hold. And in the evening, we would say a prayer with the rosary. Dominoes, he loved. Cards, again, we had that on the activity shelf, and we did them his way. Sometimes the dominoes that he used to play, he'd match them. Sometimes he'd make little designs. He was an avid bridge player, not anymore, but he could match suits. Again, he was a great one for making little designs also. Car rides, very soothing. Often with that, I would also use, let's do the town, a little bit less threatening for him. He loved to sand wood. That got him down in his little workshop. Bird watching, like Claire was saying, I'm telling you, we got the most expensive bird seed. We got bird houses, bird baths, hummingbird feeders, anything to bring those birds. And as Claire said, they were so comforting to him. In fact, early in his Alzheimer's, we were watching the birds one day. And one of the birds was just looking kind of foolish, just kind of flying around, acting a little bit goofy. I said, will you look at that one right there? He said, you know, that one must have Alzheimer's. So he never lost that sense of humor. Be careful with the wars. Dad was such a proud soldier. But be careful. We never talked about combat. He never wanted to talk about combat. And you know, with 8 Bronze Stars, he saw some combat. but he loved to talk about things that happened. His fellow soldiers. He just enjoyed. In fact, these were the things that pleased him. We heard this story probably 800 times, but he loved it. There was a lieutenant, a young lieutenant, no one could stand him. And he had come out of the latrine, and for all you young people, that's the bathroom in the Army camps. And the young lieutenant had come out of the latrine with a cigarette, and he threw it back toward the latrine and blew up the latrine. Dad loved that story, told it again and again. It just brought him such comfort and enjoyment. And finally, folks, nighttime. We found out that he liked the lights down low and a lava lamp. Again, if you're young, you probably don't know a lava lamp. Cone-shaped, you plug it in, light comes on. Then there are colors that swirl through the lamp. We would turn down the lights, turn on the lava lamp, and we think that signified to him, without a lot of words, that his day was ending. So as we look back, without even knowing it, I think we had a plan for Dad. Always he had his coffee and newspaper, his Coke float, his happy hour, his lava lamp in the evening, lights turned down, the rosary with a prayer, and interspersed during the day were those activities. Not a whole lot of them, because you want activities with a lot of breaks and rest, not only for your loved one, but also for you. So, I was telling Ellen that some years ago, there was a book out there called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And I thought about that when I was preparing this presentation, and I thought, that's something to remember when you are working with a loved one, a patient, or a client who has Alzheimer's. I'm okay, you're okay. So thanks for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dedrick. I am a coordinator here at Charlie's Place. Thank you all for coming and spending time with us. So I just kind of want to let you know, I am coming from the younger perspective. I have come in, I have made mistakes, and I promise you, every activity I've done has not gone over well. And anyone who tells you the activities always go well, probably not telling you the truth. So let me just kind of give you a younger interpretation and looking at things from a different view. So when I was in high school, 2 weeks into my senior year of high school, I finally got my own room, and my grandpa moved in. Only thing that my grandparents told us, my great grandpa moved in. The only thing that my grandparents told us is he's having some memory issues. And so he got my room. I was a little upset, but I was like, okay, it's grandpa. I love grandpa. He's moving in. So I ended up having to learn a lot of his schedule, which was interesting. But let me start. So if you have someone who has early onset dementia, or, they're still mobile, you can still talk, have a good time, the biggest thing you want to do with them is to let them become a teacher. Let them teach. They still have wisdom. They still have things to give and share. And that's, as we get older, that's the one thing when we have kids, grandkids, we love to do. So if they're still in that stage where they can do that, please let them do that. So for me, for a little small story, I always look around before I tell this story, because I kind of don't know if my mom or my grandmother's around. So me and my great grandpa on Saturdays at 3 would go to the bar and go get drinks. Now, he grew up in an older neighborhood where he had this bar he always went to as long as I could remember. And these were his buddies. And so we went. Now, I did not drink. They would give me Coke. but he would get one glass and we'd spend an hour and they would tell stories. But instead of him being in this new location, stuck there, I would drive him to his old bar, and that's kind of where he would be able to talk. Then from there, we leave the bar. He's teaching me how to dance. He showed me the jitterbug and things of that nature, all those little twists and all those things that I'd never, ever heard about. Again, he was able to share that with me, smiles, great times. We sat right on side of the house, and you know us young folks, we got that new little stereo, and he told us, you got to learn these dances if you want to get with the girls. He was able to always give that wisdom in when he just moved in, and he was early on, and he was still moving, and he was still going. Now, one thing with my great grandpa was he was a chess master, and he had traveled across the globe playing in chess tournaments and growing up. And when we would go to his house, he always had these plaques for it. So we would always play chess and checkers with him. I took more of the checkers. I had an uncle who was 2 years older who took more of the chess. And so we would always play. We would bring friends over. We would always play. And so for a lot of people, when someone's diagnosed, they go, oh, well, we don't want to tell everyone. We kind of want to keep it amongst ourselves. We can just handle it between ourselves. The one thing we always say about kids is it takes a community to raise kids. And so in this effort, it took a community to help us transition and take care of our great grandpa. And so that's kind of the philosophy we took. Now, in taking that philosophy, we all spent a little time. And I know this situation is not applicable to everyone, but it was in our situation. So if you have those kids, grandkids, that loved one who's early on in the stages of dementia will always have something to share, whether that's dancing, whether that's a love of sports. We're in the South, a love of golf, and it's not that you have to go to a range and hit the ball 300 yards. You can go ahead and putt. You can buy the little rugs that have the little hole in it, and you can putt. And some people aren't into sports. Some people are into art. And so having those conversations can open it up. Now, at points you're going to start to see that, that step down. Now, when you start to see that step down, it's more becoming a partner with your loved one. They can't do everything they did on their own the way they once did. So now they need a little help. And so when you become partners, now we're doing things in tandem together. And it doesn't always have to be with you and that loved one. It could be others in the family or sitters who kind of start to do things, but everything we did was in teamwork. So separating clothes. We would take all of one of our winter clothes during the summer and we put them out on the bed. And he would help us separate the jackets, the things like this, things that we don't even like to do on our own. But because he was being helpful, it made him feel good that he could help us separate things, socks, things like that. He loved to polish silverware. I have no idea where it comes from, but he would polish that silverware every day. And sometimes he'd want to polish it 3 times a day. And that's perfectly okay. Going through pictures and scrapbooking. Awesome gesture, because he will start to bring back some of those stories that I never knew, that my grandmother never knew, being that was her father. And going down memory lane is kind of one of the greatest things, especially when we meet friends that we haven't seen in a while. We always go down memory lane. So let's stay down memory lane as long as he has stories. And so that was one of the greatest things as we start to get moderate. Now, when he got to the moderate level, I had moved on from high school to LSU. So when I came back home, he had found out, okay, I have a new family and they live around the corner. Okay, let's go where he took me. And he took me around. This is the first day back for the summer from college. And he took me around the corner. And a lot of the families, I grew up there, I knew the families, and he knocked on the door looking for his family. And so I learned, we'd sit on the stoop as we did when we were younger. And I tell them, this house looks just like the one he had that he lived in. And so we go and we talk to them every day, sometimes twice a day. But again, after that first time, I talked to them, let them know what was going on. And so he would come to that same house every day, and they were happy to oblige and kind of sit with us and have conversations. And some days I wouldn't be there, and so he'd do it with my uncle, or he'd do it with my grandparents, and he'd go to the same house every day and he'd talk. Great exercise for that walk. He could still do it, but it kind of helped everybody, because for some of us, we don't walk and we need that time for our own selves to exercise. So it just came like a family outing. Now, also, back to one of his loves and pastime, he also built ships in the bottle. And we could never, ever, ever figure out how would he get these ships and these bottles, and the bottles had the little necks on it. And he would never tell us when we were growing up. Actually, he put the bottles together. I know that now because he taught it to me. So we would get ships. As he went through the progression, we got the bigger ships that had all the tiny pieces, and then we start just like a puzzle. We would get the ships that had fewer pieces and fewer pieces, and he would guide us through. So even when his hands became shaky, we could be guided through the process on how to put these ships together. Now, funny story, when I went back to LSU, I come back maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, he's kind of taken another step down, and I think it was Thanksgiving. And I brought 2 of my friends from LSU with me, and I was telling them how good my grandpa was in chess and checkers. And so my grandparents and her brothers and sisters were like, we don't know if you should play. We don't know if he can still do it. He had started to slow down, not walk as much, but so we're taking that next step down. And so I said, okay, well, can I at least try? And it was like, okay. So we pulled out the checkers board, since we were going to stay away from chess. We put out the checkers board, and he beat all 4 of us. And then I beat him, which has never happened. No one's ever beaten him. And so he got angry, and he sat to the side because he had to move from the board. And he said, I can't believe I let this little chump beat me. And so as I beat my other friends, and he got back to the board, he came in and he wiped the floor with me. I got 3 of his men, and he set me up by giving me 2. So that just told me a lot of what we thought he may have lost, it was still there. That competitive nature brought it out of him. Now, with that being said, it could have all went the wrong way. I could have beaten him, and he could have just lashed. He didn't. He got more competitive. And when I tell you, we played checkers until we were tired. He just kept cleaning our clocks over and over again. But my grandparents, they were like, oh no, we don't do the checkers board anymore. We don't do that anymore. We don't think he can do it. But again, that was just me being younger, and that could have went the wrong way. But again, teaching. And so at the end, we went back home for Thanksgiving. The next day, he came that morning. I walked into his room, and he goes, you thought you had me yesterday, huh? You thought you had me. Again, not knowing where it kind of brought it out of him that he could still do it. And he wanted to play checkers all day the next day. But again, that's the beautiful part of it. If you can get them in the place where they see that purpose, they see this. He was like, you think, he said, and he told me, he said, you think, and this is amazing, because by this point, he had kind of stopped talking. He had really kind of stopped talking. He said, I taught you everything you know. You don't know everything I know. So again, that competitive spirit kind of brought that side of him back out. And my grandparents saw that. And so again, after that break, I go back to LSU. But now I hear my grandmother saying, I need you to come home this weekend. I need you to come home this weekend, because she could see that me and him, we had this bond, and my uncle was now at Southern University. And so we would alternate weekends coming back to spend time. And that gave my grandparents a break. My mom would come, and they would do fashion together, and he would style her, which was the funniest things, because they eventually got to the point where she was styled so bad, we took pictures, and we still look at those pictures today. So now, as he started taking more steps down, and we got to that phase where, for the most part, he kind of stopped walking for the most part all together. You know, now we had to put the little seat next to the bed for the restroom, things like that. He had gotten to that phase. Again, not talking as much. We would come back and same thing. He wouldn't really play checkers, but his number one show, Bonanza. He could tell me about those Cartwrights. It opened him up. I didn't know anything about Bonanza. I knew he watched Westerns. So it opened it back up to talk about Bonanza, to talk about Clint Eastwood, things like that. So till this day, literally 2 nights ago, my wife told me if she has to hear anything about another Cartwright, I'm going to have to get a new wife. But that comes from my grandpa and him teaching me about the Westerns. Again, I'm not sure, because as I would come back every weekend now, it was more about what can we do together and partner and do. That does not mean I spent 24 hours with him, but I would spend at least 6 hours with him off and on. So we did, as we do at Charlie's Place, we did taste tests to see what we were going to have for dessert for dinner. So I would come back with an Oreo cookie, some ice cream, and a lot of the time it was either yogurt, I can't think of the other little thing, or some cheesecake, and he would kind of see which one he liked, and that's what we'd have after dinner. To the point where when my grandparents noticed this, they would always make a list of what they were going to eat all week, as we all do as adults. And so they would go to the store across the street. I'm in New Orleans, so there's always food as an option, and get a little bit of etouffee, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And he would tell us which the three, by pointing, not necessarily talking, which ones he liked the most. And those would be the 3 things they had for dinner that week. So it kind of gave him that ability to keep choosing what we were doing and had going on. And that was probably more meaningful to him and probably a little harder on my grandparents, because it's hard to let someone choose after you've raised, at this point, I was a grandchild. After you raise all these kids and you made all of the decisions, to come back and have to step back and go, okay, Dad, do you like this, or this? You don't have to talk to me, just kind of point which one you like. And he did it. Now, it took the younger generation to let my grandparents see that he was still there. Because some of the things, they only knew so much about him, but we were coming from a place of yearning and knowledge, me and my uncle and my mom. So don't ever underestimate what a child or maybe a teenager can bring. So at Charlie's Place, we had 2 clients who were up on the iPhone. Now we all know that some of us, we go, well, you know, I'm too old to deal with that old iPhone thing. One of them taught me about the stock apps. He was a banker and a stockbroker, and he taught me about the stock apps. And I made me some. He gave me some tips on how to look at stocks. I might think I know something now. But they still have that wisdom there, and always look for that wisdom. And we get tired, and that's why a team is important. There's no way at Charlie's Place I could sit in Charlie's Place and do activities with one person for 8 hours, and that person is not going to become tired of my voice. Because as everyone can tell you, you can get tired of my voice. I can be annoying. So it takes a team. And never forget that when you have someone at home, it takes a team. Your children are very important. Now we can all be honest. All the times, not all children want to be equal in part. But that's a story and a topic for another day. But the ones who will, and maybe that parent that your sister or brother won't want to come in and do, but maybe their kids will, but we've never given them the opportunity. So never forget your loved ones always have something to give. Even if they can't verbally tell it to you, the kids coming in or you coming in, they can teach it to you. And sometimes I knew answers to things, but I just wanted to hear the way he would tell it, because he's 2 or 3 generations from me. So the way things were done were very, very different. And he always taught me, sitting at the bar at 3 p.m., you should never drink before 5 p.m. So thank y'all. We have any questions?
see. So if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat box now. Let's see. We have some comments. Someone commented this was too cute, this presentation. A comment from Julie, great job to my amazing team. I love how each of you touched on your own personal experience to help navigate the journey. We appreciate your shared experience and expertise. I agree. I echo everything that Julie said, and we're getting a lot of good compliments. If anybody has a question about activities or anything that these three talked about, we'll give you a couple minutes to go ahead and put that in the chat box. Did you guys have anything more y'all wanted to share or add on to the presentation just before we sign off?
Oh, is there a fee for the pickup packets?
Oh yeah, so we have a couple questions. Is there a fee for the pickup packets at the drive-through on Wednesday?
No, there's never a fee.
Okay. Any virtual activities that you can recommend?
So the AFA, the American Foundation on Alzheimer's, they actually every week on their website post virtual activities that they can do. I know at Charlie's Place we do our own, which we actually have a virtual activity happening in an hour, but that's for our clients at Charlie's Place. But the AFA always gives a week long of activities that you can use that are virtual to kind of get you through the day.
Plan your day.
Awesome. Another question we have is there a list of activities that you can have for at home or online that you guys have?
There is a list of like 100 different activities that's for the different levels. And I think we have a copy of that we got from our main office there, Ellen.
Yeah. So we have a list and I'll attach it to the follow-up email after the presentation. We got a question about, excuse me, the online caregiver support group. I can talk on this real quick. So we currently offer 8 different support groups online. So for anybody that'd be interested in joining any of those support groups, I will attach the schedule to the email as well. So if you have any questions, just reach out to me. We have another question that came in. I've been researching fidget blankets. I found some on Etsy. Any other good places that you guys know of that we can find them?
What is a fidget blanket?
S&S, I think, has them. It's a source. There's several sources. If you just go to Google and type in fidget blankets, or fidget items, there's aprons. There's several different types of fidget items out there. If you just type in it in search, and it'll take you to those sites.
Thanks, Claire. And Claire, can you kind of just give like a little summary of what a fidget blanket is in the first place?
Yeah, hang on just a second. Let me grab one.
Okay.
So let me say, because I have some items here that we use here at Charlie's Place. So for people who love toolboxes, and they all have little locks and different things you can fidget with to open them, all kind of locks, things like that. And that kind of helps with time. People who kind of sit and they may be watching, but they don't really want to verbally participate, but you can see that they're kind of in the midst of everything. We have little fidget blocks here that they kind of, some people, just like to touch, move hands, things of this nature. And we also, at Charlie's Place, we have our cat, Charlie. He actually purrs, moves. They love to pet Charlie, things of this nature. Awesome things. And this thing actually scares all of our employees when they walk in the morning, because it just goes meow when you pass it, but the clients love them. And so they voted to put me out and keep the cat at Charlie's Place, and they also make the dogs as well. So these are just things we have at Charlie's Place that you can find online. So just kind of let y'all know.
This is a fidget blanket. It usually come with little pockets, like you can see this little pocket that has an elastic attached to a little piece of fabric that looks like a handkerchief. There may be zippers or buttons or little flaps where down at the bottom. You can see here that the little flaps open up, and there might be some little cat or some little applique down. And it's about a 24 or 30 by 30 inch with a lot of different little activities for them to do. That's a fidget blanket. And then some are just made, there may be one like a man's tool belt or carpenter bag, and just whatever's going to appeal to the client, that's what they go with.
Awesome. Thank y'all. A couple more questions.
Okay.
Do any of y'all know of any virtual tours of museums that are available online?
I don't know of a museum, but I did see the other day when I was searching, the San Diego Zoo has a virtual tour of all the animals and all. And there may be some other sites that, you know, they can, like I said, just type in Google for a tour site. And usually a lot of the different sites will come up.
Actually, that's a great question. When we leave here, I'm actually going to be researching if I can find a virtual Mardi Gras. So a virtual Mardi Gras parade or things like that from New Orleans or anything like that. So that's actually a great question. I'm actually going to be trying to figure that out actually today.
There you go.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
Can I have a question. I was having problems getting on because I didn't get the link, but the person was very great about helping me get on. And I'm on my phone, my iPhone. I'm taking care of my husband for this is 2 years now. And he sleeps a lot. That, you know, bothers me. Do they usually sleep so much?
It really depends on the individual. Some of them do, and it's okay. It's just as they change different levels, you'll see them napping more because their energy level is not what it used to be.
And appetite either. Doesn't eat as much.
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to figure out what to feed him.
Well, with the appetite, you know, you might go to finger foods. We've done that in the past with other places that I worked, and the finger foods were more appealing to them than a big meal.
Well, I never give a big meal anymore. If you give him 2 items, he'll just probably eat one and not even touch the other item. And I'm having the puree food because he's got some denture problem, but the dentist said there's nothing they can really do right now at his age. But my concern is exercise because he's at home and we manage him quite well. I do have some help coming in, but I want to keep him very mobile to walk. And when I'm asking him to get up and walk, he says to me, Rena, please. But anyway, I'm laughing.
The aqua bands, it's like a stretch band.
Yes,
those
I know he's
good,
got that.
and
But
you can put them on the foot and just, you know, at least it would keep his muscles moving. He may not be standing up and moving, but it would still keep them flexible for him to transfer, which would make it easier on you as a caregiver.
right. Okay. Thank you. That's a good
I have a
suggestion. He's
question.
got
I have
one
a
of
question
those.
for you.
You will.
I have a question for you. Did he play
Yes.
sports?
No sports, and he don't really even like to
You don't
look
like
at
'em?
sports on TV. No sports.
Okay.
He was into politics, but he's not even interested in watching what's going on TV now. He's, you know, that's gone. He will read his paper and drink the coffee in the morning. So that's one good constant thing every morning. I know.
That's a plus.
But
There you go. Yeah.
and I do have PTs that come in to help some and giving him some physical activities, but I try to encourage him to walk. And if it's nice, I say, let's go take a walk outside. And that's when he looks at me and frowns and say, after a while, and after a while never comes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets to be a real challenge.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge. And with this virus, it makes it even harder because, you know, family can't come and go like you'd like them to.
Yes.
Because that makes it harder. But we're hanging in there, and I'm so very glad that Rose Roche inquired about you guys speaking to us. And I'll be joining you because, you know, that's time that I can take. And I had my lunch already, so.
You have to take care of you.
Yeah, but I love me. Everybody will tell you I love me. Because if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of anybody else.
That's right.
I walk every morning 2.5 miles. That's my ritual. And I'm
Good
listening
for
to some
you.
good spiritual.
Good for you. God bless you.
Yes.
Oh, I'm truly blessed. And he continues to bless me But I have problems with computer. I do have one, but when you're 79, sometimes it's kind of hard to learn how to do all this. I heard the guy saying about the iPhone. I can get on the iPhone, but the computers, I can't make it work for the Zoom. But I'd like to continue to join you and where's the Charlie House? I know it's in Baton Rouge, but I live out in the country toward New Roads area.
Okay. It's behind the Baton Rouge General Mid-City, where the Baton Rouge General downtown.
Downtown, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's down there, down in that area. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is there a sign or anything out that?
Yes,
There
ma'am.
is. We do have a sign out front.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank y'all so much. I really enjoyed this, and you've given me some good ideas. And I will
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Okay, have a blessed day.
Yeah.
We have a couple more questions I just want to get to before we sign off. So we do have some people asking about how to get the packets. So if you are wondering about that, I've taken your name down and I will pass it on to the Charlie's Place staff after the presentation and have them reach out to you about that. And a couple other comments just to some things that you guys have said. So to Dedrick, there are some neighborhoods in Baton Rouge that are decorating homes and yards for Mardi Gras. They believe maybe 100 Oaks is a good neighborhood for that. So maybe check that out. And then Laura has shared that she's seen the Smithsonian has done some online tours and that a little crossball can be fun. It can roll it around in your hands or under your feet. That can even bounce a little, it can be thrown back and forth. And go ahead, Laura, if you want to unmute yourself.
Ellen, there's also a video. You can purchase a CD of the Biltmore house. That might be something they love it when I used to show the Biltmore mansion here.
Okay. Actually, I learned about the lacrosse ball from an occupational therapist. Basically, it's kind of arthritis. You can even put it on your back and rub yourself against the wall.
That's right.
But Academy and Dick's have them. I know Dick's have them individually in bright colors. I have 3 of my own: purple, yellow, pink.
Awesome.
They're rubber. They're not a tennis ball. The only thing I will say to those is they pick up lint. It's like, okay. Yeah, I just emailed Ellen. I'm trying to see if I can help y'all even with the packets or anything, since I have a lot of time on my hands, but that's a different email. But yes, the other thing I think Charlie's Place has done that is those little noodles, fun noodles. You can do exercise with them. Someone mentioned the Aqua Band or whatever.
Right.
The noodles are very popular. I've seen, I don't have one myself, but I've seen kids love them, especially. You can even play like the balloon ball. But those aqua noodles, yeah, I'm saying, like I said, I like my own nephews actually have a set, but yeah, what are they? Fun noodles. Sorry, the styrofoam things. They're very popular.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate your feedback. So we are right at 1 o'clock. So I will go ahead and wrap it up, but I will be sending a follow-up email shortly, just with the link to the presentation for today in case you'd like to share it with anyone, and just some extra tips and tricks that the presenters have shared here today. But thank you all so much for joining us. Great job to Claire, Dedrick, and Marcia. Fantastic information shared. And I look forward to having you guys back for another Lunch and Learn in March, hopefully. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, Ellen.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Claire.